Welcome back to Desert Smoke Reviews. This is Justin.
What?
And today we're coming at you with the Signature Collection, the Maduro Vintage 2005. Previously we did the sun-grown version of this cigar with our guest reviewer Steve and his wine that tastes like grapes. But we're coming in today with the Maduro. And
It doesn't smell like grapes.
it doesn't smell like grapes. It's a little veiny, a little lumpy. The seams are visible, but they're done well. Nice firm pack. Already seems leaps and bounds better than the sun-grown version. Off the aroma, I get just like a rich musky tobacco. Almost like it's perfectly humidified, but it smells wet, like a wet musk. It's not a bad smell. What?
Yeah, it's a very interesting complexion of the cigar. It's kind of splotchy dark in some areas, and it's lighter in some areas. And but yeah, can see the seams, very veiny, but construction seems good. I don't see any like spongy areas or particularly hard areas. But yeah, off the smell, I'd agree. Just a real rich, musky, sort of wet tobacco. It's almost sort of like a rainforest or something. I don't know. Well, let's get it lit up. See what we think.
Sounds like a plan.
It smells really good. I mean, just the aroma of the cigar before we even take a puff.
I mean, it seems leaps and bounds better than the sun-grown so far, but we haven't gotten into it.
Seems more on the full side, just on the first puff. Long-lasting finish. There's a lot of spice in there. It's not really a peppery spice, but on that finish, I get a lot of just sort of a general spice. It's good. I taste that muskiness.
Yeah, it's almost like for me, it's like a wet hay, but a sweet wet hay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm picking up those spices in the finish, as Wyatt mentions. I would call them like baker's spices. You know, they're a little sweet, a little not salty, but like a cinnamon. They're you know, there's a bunch of different spices, and I think they call it baker's spices. So it's actually relatively pleasant. I would agree. It's probably closer to medium to full, maybe even full for strength. I mean, not strength of body, but strength is very mild. But again, it's just the first puff. So far, again, leaps and bounds better than the sun-grown so far. Ready to get in the first third?
Let's do it.
We'll come back to you as we get into the first third. Welcome back. We're at the 10-minute mark, well into the first third of this Signature Collection Maduro Vintage 2005. I have to say, not a bad smoke at all. Said it once, I guess I'll say it again. Leaps and bounds better than that sun-grown one. Draw's been perfect. Construction, great. No burn issues. I mean, it's not perfect, but no needing of a touch-up. Ash is holding on well. Flavors for me are still just like a sweet, wet hay. Then those goes into those nice baker spices. No changes in flavors, but they're pretty decent flavors. Kind of, for me, it died down to about a medium in body, and probably mild to medium in strength for me. How about you?
Yeah, I've been very surprised by this cigar. I mean, it's we were talking earlier, and it's got sort of a dampness to the smoke that really puts a lot of different characteristics into the finish. I still get a little bit of that spice, but it's more subdued. Off the retro hill, I just get that musky tobacco. It's well, it's not really a unique taste, but it's very interesting. Burn for me has been fantastic. Ash just dropped off in a solid clump. But yeah, I like it so far.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the second third, approach the midpoint, and see how it goes. Welcome back to the Signature Collection, Maduro 2005 Vintage. About the halfway point, of course. Still about medium to full in body, but mild to medium in strength. Haven't had any construction issues, no burn issues, no draw issues. taste for me is still that same flavor. No keeping par for the course. I still pick up those baker's spices in the finish, but they are ramping down a little bit. And on the front of my palate, I still get like a sweet, wet hay. And Retro Hell, I don't really get a whole lot, but maybe a bit of the rich, not rich, like natural tobacco flavor. Not much for me on the Retro Hell. Why?
The second half has sort of picked up on sweetness to me. It's still really musky, and I would go a little bit higher on the strength. I'd say this one is more of a more on the full side. Not quite a full, but almost there. But I'm really enjoying it. I mean, the finish is long lasting, and it's sort of like sort of like an outside dew. You know what I mean? Sort of tastes like dew. Yeah, and it's good. I mean, I really like it. But yeah, more on the full side. Just a really interesting, bizarre taste. Like Justin was saying, I don't get anything on the Retro Hill, but that finish is just really good. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the final third. See how she develops. Welcome back. We're into the final third of this signature collection, Maduro Vintage 2005. It's been a really decent smoke. So for me, it's always been medium to full in body and mild to medium in strength. I didn't get a big kick off of it. Never had any issues with construction, draw, or burn. Always been flawless. Flavors for me never changed. Always that sweet hay, and it picked up and went down and picked up throughout the profile, but it was always there. It was always the forerunner in the flavors, and that always died off into a nice long finish of just nice baker's spices. One trick pony, very simple, but pretty damn good. I have to admit, I was really not expecting that out of this cigar. If you've seen the review on the same cigar, but it's the sun-grown version. It was uneventful and not very pleasant at all. This one is 180 from that. It's actually very good. If I was going to rate it, I'd give it a nice, I'd go 6 3/4, 6.75, because it's not super great, but it is pretty good, and it's not quite 7 for me, but it's a little better than a 6.5. So we're gonna meet in the middle with a 6.75.
Yeah, I agree. It's just been a nice kind of one-note cigar. Flavors sort of shifted after I passed the halfway point, and I pick up a little more, like, not really chocolate, but just sort of a sweet undertone in the Retro Hail, and the finish has sort of changed. It's gotten a little bit sweeter, but like Justin said, lots of spices. I'd agree, like a baker's spice. But overall, scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably bump it up to a 7. I enjoyed it. It's not something I'd smoke every day. I also thought it was a little bit more on the full side, but I could see taking this out to the golf course, or if you're just kicking back at the end of the day, good stick for that. So overall, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Well, in conclusion, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. But until next time, smoke them if you got them.